Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Geeked Out. And this week, I know that we had originally said that we were going to delve into, well, we're still delving into the world of superheroes, but we had originally said we were going to do the Boys spin-off Gen V. However, through a little bit of research, we have discovered that there's some spoilers in that for the Boys, and we decided we were going to maybe wait on that for a week or two, and we decided instead to do the first four episodes of the first season of the Amazon Prime show Invincible. Invincible is an adult animated show based on a comic written by Robert Kirkman, who you might also know as the creator of the comic of Walking Dead. He originally wrote the series from January of 2003 to November of 2018, publishing 144 issues, and the series premiered on Amazon in March of 2021, and the second season actually just premiered 3 days ago on Friday, November 3rd of this year. It has an 8.7 rating on IMDb and an 88% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, and I mean, the cast list is just, it is stacked is an understatement. I mean,
Yeah,
you have got
that
you've
all
got Stephen Yoon and J.K. Simmons, Sandra Oh, Walton Goggins, uh, Zachary Quinto, Jason Mantzoukas. I mean, the list just goes on. There are so many. And then you've also got career um, voice actors like that don't really do on screen stuff that just they're all over this show.
yeah. And there'll be there's even like side characters who only make an appearance for a few minutes that um if you look at who voices them are a lot of them are big name people you just don't even realize because it's such a blink if you'll miss it type moment. But
Yeah,
yeah, the cast is incredibly stacked. It's very impressive.
yeah, I agree. It's there were many times during these first four episodes that, like you say, even a side character. I think it's the way the first episode opens. Two guys are talking. I kind of went, God, his voice sounds familiar, but I couldn't pick out why. And I checked. It's fucking John Hamm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like of, and just because it's John Hamm in my head, I'm like, well, he's got to be some kind of main character or at least recurrent. Nope, he just has a bit role for an episode. Maybe I think he might come back for 30 seconds in another episode, but it's like, nope, he's just a random cameo. Like,
Right? I think that goes like the power of Seth Rogen because he's the producer of this, right? Or a co-producer. He's one of the producers at least.
yeah,
Yeah, man. I think he definitely had a hand in getting a lot of this talent
I
involved
I,
in
I would
production.
assume so. I mean, you got to assume that he had something to do with it because, like you say, because of who he is and the respect that he has in the Hollywood community and things like that, and the contacts that he's made over the years. I mean, I don't think he's burned any bridges, and
Yeah, I'm
everyone
sure.
seems to like him and work with him. So
Yeah,
that
I'm sure
probably didn't hurt.
getting them to record a few lines, not taking much time out of their day. I'm sure many a celebrity wouldn't mind doing that.
No, not at
Just
all.
like what happened.
It's like you see the all the cameos now in the new Star Wars movies. I mean, random people just pop up, or then you hear the stories that, oh, this guy was a stormtrooper, or that
Daniel
like Daniel Craig. Well, Daniel Craig, you can actually recognize his voice, but then there's rumors that Prince Harry and Prince William were stormtroopers. Whether or not that's ever been confirmed or true, I have no idea. But even like a small character, like in Force Awakens, Simon Pegg plays a guy who's on screen for maybe 2-3 minutes. Like,
Yeah, yeah, the cameos you're starting to see. Yeah, they're starting to enter Hollywood a lot more now.
I like that because it's fun. It's like if you're watching a serious thing and something like that happens, that might take you out of it. But something like this, or if you're watching any kind of comedy or like one of those dumb action movies, and all of a sudden just a random person who you know from something else pops up, it's like, oh, that's so and so, or that's that guy. It's fun. It's something. It's a little enjoyable thing that kind of
Yeah.
breaks up some of the tension.
Yeah. It adds to the enjoyment of the film or whatever you're watching.
Absolutely, especially if it's like you're watching with a group of friends and it's it's somebody that only two or three of you might know, and it's like you kind of, oh, I know that guy. Like, yeah, he's from this, and everyone else is kind of going, yep, sure. I guess you guys are right.
Yeah, when it's placed properly and not drawing too much attention away from, the main plot of the story, cameos work very well.
Yeah, and I like cameos in animated movies because I always find it amusing to sit and try and figure out whose voice I
Right?
I
And if I'm
recognize that, but I
fucking
don't know why.
right, and if I'm a big or at least a name in Hollywood, I'm such a fan of film. I'd be in every possible thing I could be in.
Oh, absolutely.
In anything, I don't care. I'll be anything.
No, it's because, like you say, a lot of times these, especially with these cameos, I guarantee you, a lot of these actors they just view it as it's just they're gonna have fun. Not that I'm saying they don't take it seriously, because I'm sure they do, but at the same time, it's like, and I mean, you've seen, I'm sure you've seen if you've seen documentaries on some of the Pixar movies and things like that that they make, you see some of these guys coming in to record, and they're like in their pajamas or like just they're so comfortable. It's like I absolutely I'll get paid to do this and just have a good time in front of a microphone with a group of my friends.
Yeah, it seems like not a bad gig to have.
No, not at all. I wouldn't mind I wouldn't mind doing that, Hollywood, if you're listening.
For sure, man.
But to get back to this show, it's basically the way I look at it is the the plot of the show is Invincible is the main character. He's a 17-year-old son of an alien from I can't even remember. I don't remember how to pronounce this word.
Uh, Beltramite.
Veltramite. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, Beltramite.
Or is that what they're called? Like they're
That's the race
Veltramites.
of people.
Yeah.
Get with the actual planet. Maybe, maybe no. Yeah, I'm blanking on the actual planet, but I know the Beltramite is the race.
Yeah. Yeah. So his father is from this planet, and he's come to Earth. He came to Earth 20 years prior to basically be Earth's sole protector. And this is the character of Omni Man, or Nolan, is his civilian name. And he's voiced by J.K. Simmons, the great J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah,
Instead of vilifying a superhero, now he is playing a superhero, which I like. I like that. I mean, I'm a big J.K. Simmons fan personally.
yeah, and like the character Omni Man himself resembles the actor J.K. Simmons,
Yeah, I like when they do that in animation.
J. Jonah Jameson, because with
When
the
they,
mustache.
yeah, I you big Jonah Jameson vibes off of him, but I like when they do that in animation where they animate the character to kind of resent. I mean, there are ones where it's almost like a complete digital recreation, but then you get other ones that are just subtle hints. I think this is one that looks quite a lot like him, and I appreciate that because it shows the attention to detail that the animators are having, as opposed to just drawing a random person and having somebody voice it. It makes it a lot more personal, especially if you know who that actor is.
Yeah, well, the character in the comics looks exactly like the animation, so I'm assuming the creator of the comic, Robert Kirkman,
Yeah, Robert Kirkwood.
Kirkman, uh, definitely had J.K. Simmons in mind or at least J. Jonah Jameson, when he as the design of the character originally in the comics. So they kind of just transferred that over to the animation,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah, I like
You
I
hear
like
like,
the animation style too.
oh yeah, it gives me it reminds me of the DC animation from like the 90s.
Yeah, yeah,
Or
it really it has those with
the
those sharp edges.
Yeah, just before they started doing like the adding a lot of the 3 or CG models that they're doing in the more recent DC animation films.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, to me it's like peak DC animation in that it has that vibe to it, which I really dig.
Well, and that also helps because, especially with people like of our generation and things like that, who have watched a lot of those um, animated cartoons, same thing, animated superhero shows and that of DC and whatnot, is even before, even if you're not thinking about the superheroes and it's just like a family scene at home, you see that animation in your mind immediately connects it to that oh, it's superheroes. You know what I mean? Like, so you're always in that mindset of it with the show. And I don't know, I really like the way the show is put together and presented. It's very compelling to watch. I'm I've never I had never heard of the comics or anything like that before the show came out, and I remember when it came out, I was interested. I was vaguely interested, and I thought I don't know, I might give this a shot, and then I just kind of never really thought about it again. And I've seen it pop up every here and there, every now and again. Sorry, when I've been surfing for things on Amazon, and I've always thought I might be interested, but I always passed it by, and then you had suggested doing it for this episode, and I mean, I will say that I'm a big fan of it now, and I'm very excited to watch the rest of the season and the new season that's just coming out right now.
Yeah, I have I've heard of like the comic, but I just didn't know the level of, violence that it contained. Like, I had no context other than knowing of the character and who created the character because he was behind The Walking Dead and I was watching The Walking Dead. So when this came on, what was it? You said 2021, right?
Yeah.
Um, I checked it out, and the first episode kind of starts off as a very typical, paint by numbers superhero with a little extra violence added to it. But once you get to that last 5 minutes
Whew.
of that episode, that's when it pulls you right in.
Yeah.
And that scene kind of sets the tone for the rest of the episodes following. Yeah, I definitely love everything about this show. It's very adult.
That is for sure.
But it's not violent for violence sake. It definitely is gory, but it shows a even though it's animated, it shows a realistic side of being a superhero in a world setting. Like what really would be like without the censorship that is normally brought upon, DC and Marvel comic books. The
Yeah,
stuff.
because you've got to think that if people really had these superpowers, like this Omni Man, he has super speed,
He's
flight,
basically
and super
Superman.
strength. He's like Superman minus the gimmicky stuff like the heat vision, the X-ray vision, things like that. Um, so he has those three basic powers, and if somebody like that existed in our world, there's you see all these movies like like you say, the DC and Marvel ones, and that's why it seems like most of Superman's villains are like these super powered aliens. Because if he were to go up against, say, they ever did a storyline where he's going up against a character like a Green Arrow, who's just a human being, or even like in Batman v Superman, as terrible as that movie is, if Batman doesn't have that suit of armor, he's going to put his fist right through them, and that's kind of what this show does. Like, they bring that realism of what it would be like if someone in our world had these superpowers, and if they're fighting. I mean, if you have unlimited strength, and you're just punching something or somebody, you're going to take their head right off.
Yeah, it shows you how goddamn terrifying Superman could possibly be if he wasn't raised in Kansas with very old school sensibility.
Yeah.
He'd be, he would be a lot like Omni-Man. He'd almost be exactly like Omni-Man. He'd be a conqueror.
Yeah. And that's what he seems like. I mean, they say that he's come to Earth for the sole purpose of being Earth's sole protector, and he does. He seems like you put it, a conqueror. Like, everybody, he's respected only because he's feared. Whereas a character like a Superman is respected because he's loved because of what he does for humanity. Whereas this guy is like, oh no, I have to respect him because if I don't, he's going to rip my fucking head off.
Yeah. But see, people see him as like the Superman. You know what I mean? Like, he has that persona right now of being like the protector. Like, not a lot of people really fear him. I think, like, you've done the first 4 episodes, so I'm trying to,
I have a feeling that people,
so
considering what I've seen, I feel like people are going to fear him pretty damn soon.
Yeah, he at some point all the cards are definitely shown, and shit hits the fan pretty quick.
And that's another thing with the animation they do on him, is he can have, even though it's animation, they're able to show such, like, the facial features are able to get across so many subtle little hints of what he's thinking, or what or emotions that he's going through. Because you can see, like, at little moments, he's kind of looking at somebody out of the corner of his eye, or something like that, and it's that, like, are they going to figure out what I'm up to? Because, I mean, spoiler alert for these first 4 episodes, they're hinting that he's up to some shit.
Well, yeah, after the first episode, you know that he is not who he says he is.
No, and that's why, like, I wasn't 100% sure. So again, spoiler alert. In this show, there are different leagues, groups of superheroes. And I can't even remember what they're called. The Guardians of the
Globe.
The Guardians of the Globe are like, basically kind of like the Justice League, and they're this. There's parallels where one is basically Batman, one is like an Aquaman type. Like, they're all
one is called War Woman. Come on, we all know that's Wonder Woman, straight ripoff.
Yeah. So basically, at the end of the episode, they're in their lair, and Omni-Man is there, and he straight up murders the entire team this is the 5-minute scene that we're discussing, that is just ultra violent, and it's like ripping people's heads open, and just
it shows you everything. It shows you what would happen if a Superman would
lost their temper.
It wouldn't be too good for them.
No. But I will say, when I watched that first episode, in my head I'm thinking, well, because I'm conditioned with superhero movies that well, Superman's always a good guy. Batman's
Yeah.
always a good guy. Captain America. They're always good guys. So in my head, I'm watching this and I'm going, well, he's got to be like under some kind of mind control or
The
some
possession.
kind of hypnosis or possession. There's got to be a reason, but the more they haven't really revealed why he did it or anything like that or any of the circumstances. But the more I watch it, I'm like, I don't think he was on anything. I think this is just whether he snapped or he has an ulterior motive or something like that. But it's like, see, I have my own theories, and I mean, I could say my theory, and whether I'm right or wrong, you could just be like, yep, I get it. But I mean, if I can divulge, my personal theory is that he talks about that this planet that he comes from, everybody has these powers, and that he was part of this council that decided to send people out to various worlds and universes and things like that to basically do exactly what he's doing and be a protector of a planet and usher them into like space travel and things like that, basically ignoring the entire Prime Directive. And if you get that, I appreciate it. Um, but I have a theory that he, yes, he's from that planet, but my theory is that either this planet wants to conquer worlds and colonize them for their own purposes, or the other one is that he turned on his entire world, decimated his whole world, and now he is just basically the last Vitramite, and he wants to eventually do the same thing to Earth. Those are my, now how close or far off I am, I have no idea, and I do not want you to tell me.
You're close to one of them. I'm
But
not gonna.
those are I'm leaning more towards the he decimated his whole planet just because, like I say, those little subtle looks that he's given certain characters throughout the show, and like I say, the attention to detail in the animation, you can even notice he's doing that when he's in the background. Like if there's a scene of, um, oh my god, I can't even think of the son's name. I just keep wanting to call him Invincible.
I think it's Mark.
Yeah, Mark. If you see, there's even scenes where it's like Mark and his mom talking, and you can see him in the background, and he's just kind of giving a look where he's not the focus of what's on screen, and yet at least my eye was directed right towards him, and he's giving a look like just of hatred almost.
Yeah, it's hinting, foreshadowing, just based off his expressions.
Which
Yeah.
I think is really good in terms of animation, because usually that's something you wouldn't find in an animated show or movie like this.
No, this is leaps and bounds one of the best animation things I've seen in quite a long time, if I'm being honest.
Now, I did say to you after watching like I think it was the first episode, that I enjoyed it, but I wasn't like totally all into it. And I had referenced that a lot of times, for some reason in my brain, if I'm watching an animated movie, I'm all in, no problem. An animated show that's not a comedy, I have a hard time taking it seriously, and I don't know why that is. I think a lot of it is just because when I think animation, you think kids shows, kids things like, and but the more that I've watched of this show, that statement could not be less true.
No,
I've gotten very into this show now, and I'm very excited to watch the rest of the season and then start the new season as soon as I can.
I appreciate what they're doing because they're taking an anime approach. They're starting to put more respect on animation and starting to um, make it more mainstream to adult audiences, which is great because how the Western world views animation is different from, like Eastern, like the Japanese. To
Yeah, for
them,
them,
yeah,
animation
they
is
do have
mainstream.
animations for children, but a lot of their anime is very adult
Yeah,
oriented. And the fact that they're taking they're taking that, knowing that, and applying it to the West, the Hollywood audience, is great. And Invincible is doing a great job at ushering new fans of just animation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more because it's very hard to look at an animated TV show that's not like I said, it's not a comedy and think, well, I could enjoy this as an almost 40-year-old man. Like normally you wouldn't think that, but this show is doing it, and I think you're right. I think it's going to pave the way for a lot more
Yeah,
adult animated shows that aren't
like
strictly
yeah,
comedies.
like if this was live action, you took everything from the animation, you applied it to live action. A lot of these people would be put up for Emmys at the very least. They would get recognition from all of Hollywood.
Yeah,
And so yeah, I just cuz a lot of, you know, the writing in this is top notch. Even like a lot of the subplots are very, well done. There's not a lot of boring parts to this show that like have me looking at the clock while I'm watching this. Um, there's a couple characters, or at least, yeah, there's one or two characters that I'm not really a big a fan of, but they don't make me hate the show or at least dread when they're on. So, and yeah, I like
I
that. It's
I don't,
rare.
I don't think there's any character that I really
In the first four
dislike.
episodes, no, there's only one character, just because I'm not really
You don't
big
like
on
the actor.
egg type characters, but there is one character that in the last four episodes, or at least one or two of those last four episodes, that becomes annoying, cliche annoying. But that's what happens when you're dealing with a teenage character. You're gonna have relationship issues and teen drama.
Yeah.
So that's all I'll say about that, without spoiling it.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, like I said, we're gonna have spoilers on this from the first four episodes, but I'm hoping that the last four episodes don't get spoiled for me personally because I haven't yet watched them, and I'm looking forward to watching them. So, some of the other actors in this show is the main character, Mark Grayson, is played by Stephen Yeun, who many people would know from The Walking Dead, where he played Glenn, who met a grisly fate on that show. I think he's doing a fantastic
No,
job.
he was talking about he lived happy live ever after with Maggie, right? Nothing happened to him.
No, not at all. Nothing.
Hmm.
I can't think of anything.
No, definitely not.
That was a cheap shot. But
Yeah,
no, I think he's doing a great job. And like you say, when it comes to had this been live action, these people deserving recognition. When I brought up earlier how stacked this cast was, I didn't even know. Like, I haven't heard anything about this cast. And like you say, if it's live action, you'd have heard, oh, J.K. Simmons is doing this, or Sandra Oh is doing that, or Stephen Yeun. Nothing. But I mean, the performances that everyone in this show is giving, just with their voice, is and a lot of them aren't. I don't think they're typical voice actors. I mean, there are some people in this show who are strictly voice actors, but I mean, from what I can understand, acting on screen and voice acting are two different things because you have to convey everything that your facial expressions would normally convey in the tone of your voice, and I can't even imagine how difficult that could be.
yeah, it's definitely a different beast. But if you're a well-trained actor, it'll take a little adjusting. But I'm pretty sure they can pull it off. And it seems like they do. Like there's not a really a bad performance that I can pinpoint in this series. No, I mean everyone's voice acting is on point.
I mean, I have my own personal favorite, but I think the guy's hysterical in everything he's been in. We had a discussion earlier off mic where you don't think that he's quite as funny, but at this point, it's not a favorite character thing. Like I say, it's just I like the actor, and that's playing the character of Rex Splode is Jason Mantzoukas.
Yeah, that dude.
I'm a huge fan of Jason Mantzoukas. I love him in the show The League as Rafi, Pimento in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I'm a big fan of the podcast that he does, How Did This Get Made? I would highly recommend that podcast to any movie or film fan out there as well. But I think he does a great job in this. He's doing what he always does. He's a dick, and
Loud.
Pardon me.
The loud douchebag.
And I mean, you know what? There are very few people that can pull that off as convincingly as he can, and all you need to do with him is hear his voice, and it's like, yep, there he is.
Yeah, and even though the character is a douchebag, it was not too annoying for me. It's not like I was like, oh, please get this character off the screen whenever he was on it. It's just I'm familiar with the actor. He kind of plays very similar characters.
He does.
Just that it's not even that. It's just I don't know, man. The douchebag for douchebag's sake kind of overplayed for me with that particular actor. But in this particular role, yeah, it's fitting.
But it's one of those tropes that I think every superhero team has, that wisecracking,
Overly confident.
I mean, the Avengers has Iron Man. I think that he mirrors a lot of what Robert Downey Jr. does in that first Avengers with the quips and the kind of antagonizing, the way RDJ antagonizes Captain America in the first Avengers movie. I see a lot of similarities and parallels between the way Rex is doing that same sort of thing towards Invincible in these first few episodes. He's kind of just pushing his buttons as if like not so much you don't belong here, but more I'm better than you, I guess. And I think I think he's great at what he does, and he, like you say, he does come off very effortlessly as just a complete tool.
Definitely character was made for that, for him for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So then some of the other actors in this, we have Walton Goggins, who's another, I mean, he's a character actor. If you've seen him, you've seen him. He's been in all different kinds of things. He was in Justified. He's been in Sons of Anarchy. He's done a lot of character work, and I think he's a fantastic actor.
Yeah, he's really good. He's he's typically a bad guy in almost everything that he's in.
Or at least hated.
But he's got enough charm and charisma to where you don't really get tired of seeing him.
I was a little surprised that he plays someone of such an advanced age.
Right? And there's no accent. He's playing like an American.
Yeah, I kind of expected there to be something that, like, some kind of inflection in the voice, but it's just basically his voice. And
yeah, because when you're used to hearing him talk, he's got that country twang, right?
Yeah,
but not in this one. But I think even though he's playing a character there that's much older than he is, it doesn't it works for me. Doesn't stick out. Doesn't seem like it's not fitting. The look of the character, the voice, you know what I mean? The voice definitely, to me, matches.
It's not out of place. It was just kind of when that character first came on screen, and for any of you who aren't watching this, I mean, I suggest everybody listening, if you haven't seen it, stop the podcast and go watch it before, and then come back and listen to the rest of this, because I think the majority of you will thoroughly enjoy this show. But when he first came on screen, and he looks like this 65-year-old man with all these scars on his face and white hair, and he started talking, and I went, God, that guy sounds really familiar. And when I paused it and saw it's Walton Goggins, I kind of went, okay, that's not who I would have pegged. But then the more I saw him on screen, the more the voice fit the character. So I'm not saying it's out of place. It was more just, had I looked at the cast list before and I saw that he was playing a character, I don't think that Cecil, or Cecil, however you want to pronounce it, was the character that I was expecting that he was going to play.
Yeah, if you put a face to the characters on the show, you wouldn't put Walter Goggins near this character. So yeah,
No.
but for some reason it works. Like he's professional. He can, he is doing a really good job.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, from the episodes that like I said, that I've seen, I think maybe apart from J.K. Simmons, who is just masterful in this show, as of right now, he's fantastic. I mean, he always is, but I feel like I need to give him extra credit for this. He's so good in this show. I think, to me, my favorite voice performance has been Clancy Brown as Damien Darkblood, the demon detective.
Yeah, because it's Clancy Brown. He is a living legend, man.
I know.
He's got one of the best voices for animation, aside from like Michael Ironside or I'm blanking right now, but yeah, like he is one of the most iconic voice actors still living today, man.
Yeah, he's just got that deep, gravelly voice, and it works really well because he's playing literally a demon who's come out of hell, and he's a detective, which
He's
I
like
know sounds really weird.
He's a cross between Hellboy and Constantine.
I was gonna say Hellboy and Sherlock Holmes,
or that you could do. Yeah, it works there too.
but yeah, he's a detective, and he's trying to find out what happened with these murders, and he's starting to suspect what we all as an audience know, that it that it was Omni-Man who committed these atrocities. And it's really, I like the way they have his dialogue written. He he skips a lot of words. It's almost like really primitive speech, where it'll be like, you go here with, like he confronts Omni-Man at one point, and it's something like, you go away with wife. Almost, it's almost like he's talking as if, like, the way they portray cavemen in film. You know what I mean? Like he's missing certain punctuating words in his sentences, and it sounded a little strange at first, but the more he's on screen, the more I like that little added element to his character that they added in there. I don't know why. I don't know what it really does for me. I liked it the way it helped build his character in a way.
Yeah, yeah. You don't see much of him in these first 4 episodes, but he definitely leaves an impression. Yeah, I really I like almost every character Clancy Brown portrays in any animation form. I really love the actor, and
yeah, I do as well.
Yeah, this Damien Darkblood is. He's
what
very
a cool
interesting.
name.
I'd like to see like a couple episodes of like him just doing demon detective shit.
Yeah, I found that character very interesting, and like I said, sorry I kind of talked over you there, but I mean, to me, what a cool name.
Right?
I just Damien Darkblood. It just sounds. It sounds exactly like what he is, just like that, like an evil demon. And he's got the animation on him, like you say, he does. He almost looks like a version of, or a relative of, Hellboy.
Oh yeah, they cousins for sure. They definitely cousins. Yeah, and yeah, that's what I like about this world. A lot of, or almost every character is almost either a direct, I wouldn't say ripoff, but homage, or a cross between two different either Marvel or DC characters.
Yeah, yeah, I've noticed that too.
But they put respect on it. It's not like they're a parody trying to make fun of them, or it's, a lame version. I I dig almost every one of these characters. There's not really a character that I could do without.
No, and I mean I can't say I blame them because I mean, let's be honest, if you're writing superheroes, there's only so many powers that you can kind of think of before it starts becoming extremely ridiculous, I guess. And a lot of times when people are, I think when they're trying to write things like a superhero, they want to go with those super strength, invisibility, the the classics, the tropes, and there are already so many characters throughout DC and Marvel and other publications that have those abilities. It's hard not to, even whether it be consciously or subconsciously, it's hard not to kind of model what they're writing off of what they know. I mean, I'm not saying they're direct ripoffs, but it would be hard to. I mean, at least in my brain, it would be hard to make a character who has that super, like a super speed character, and not make him dressed in red because of the Flash. Like it just immediately associates it in my brain, and I think a lot of people are like that. But like you say, it's done in a very respectful way, and I think that it works really well in this. And it also kind of, especially if you're a fan of Marvel and DC and other comics and things like that, it almost gives you a connection to those characters before you ever really meet them, because it's
Hmm.
that instant recognition of, well, I think his name Red Rush, I think is the one guy's name. He's like the Flash ripoff.
He's like the Russian Flash.
Yeah, and I think his name's Red Rush. And again, he's just a guy a red a red suit, and it just like the Flash, but immediately you know who that guy is. I don't need to know what his backstory is. None of that. I know that's the speedster of the group.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, you could, yeah. They lot of satire there for sure. Um yeah, I'm digging it, man. This, yeah, and then they have the Wonder Woman, and they have the Martian type. Uh it's definitely a
Well,
ripoff.
The Martian is voiced by Seth. Oh, that's sorry, not the Martian. That's that's one. I think that's the second or third episode. He's the alien who Mark has to go and fight on the moon.
Yeah, like Alan.
Alan the alien. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was.
I wonder how many joints deep Seth was when he. Yeah, I call him Seth. I wonder how high he was when he came up with that name.
I think the character is in the comic book.
Is he? I hope so.
Yeah, yeah. I think just Seth Rogen just called dibs on it.
You know, it's funny though. I am just kind of, as we're talking about this, I'm just on IMDb and I'm just going through the cast list, and even if they're only in one or two episodes, I am seeing so many Walking Dead alumni in this show. It is unbelievable. And I mean that makes sense. That was a Robert Kirk. That was what made kind of Robert Kirkman known to the majority of the world. I mean, I had never heard him before I started watching The Walking Dead, and uh, that was one of the first things I thought when I turned on this show is it said based on characters or comics, whatever it says, written by Robert Kirkman. And immediately I went, is that the same Robert Kirkman who wrote The Walking Dead? Because if so, I'm all of a sudden a little bit more interested because I was a big fan of that show until I wasn't. I never finished it. I was one of those people that got to a certain point and I kind of went, this is repeating itself, but up until now, this has been really, really good. So I was very excited when I saw that. I mean, you've got, like I say, just going through, and these are some characters who they might have already been like a quick little cameo or that, but you've got Sonequa Martin Green, Lenny James. You got Michael Cudlitz. I mean, Chad Coleman, Lauren Cohen. Obviously, you've got Stephen Yeun. There's all kinds of them in here. Like, I just keep seeing more and more, and it's just, I like that. I mean, Ross Marquand is in this, Carrie Payton. I know some people aren't going to know who these actors are, but every one of them was a big character on The Walking Dead, and if you know that show, you'll recognize the actors if you see them. But like you said, this cast is stacked top to bottom, and I think they've all done a fantastic job.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate how they're keeping it in the family in a sense, where it seems like most of the crew and cast,
Yeah.
if one could easily get a role on this.
Now so one of the other interesting characters in the show I've found is his name is literally Robot because he's just a robot. And he's voiced by Zachary Quinto or Quinto. I say Quinto. I'm not 100% sure which one is exactly correct, but
Fucking
this
Spock.
character, yeah, he was Spock in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
That motherfucker Spock. All right, you're the new Spock.
He was perfect for that role, in my opinion. But I to me, he will always be Siler. As a big fan of the show Heroes, he will never not be Siler.
Yeah, I mean, season 1 he was terrifying, and then after that it was like whatever.
I even thought the second season he was really good in that show, and then
I forgot most show.
I was a big fan of that show, and then the writer strike at that time happened, and then when they came back from that, I thought the show just took a nosedive because they decided they had that amazing villain in him, and they just decided, no, we're going to introduce a new one and spend 3/4 of the newest season just giving his backstory, and it got really boring, and I think a lot of fans just fell off, unfortunately.
Yeah, it fell victim to the writer strike, as many TV show and movies during that time.
Well, I mean, and that's happening now again, unfortunately. I mean, with
True.
this strike on.
Yeah, we haven't really felt the worst of it.
No, I think that's coming, and I think a lot of movies that people are excited about are either going to get bumped back or they might just get shelved completely. Same thing with TV shows. I have a really bad feeling with some of the repercussions of this that are going to happen, just like last time. But anyways, back to his character. So he plays Robot, and he is kind of part of they call him the teen heroes group, I guess, and Rexplode, and there's another character, Adam Eve. They're part of this, and he's kind of with that group, and that's where Invincible first gets introduced to the superhero world as he goes, and he's kind of helping them with a mission with these aliens coming through a portal. But as the episodes progress, Robot becomes in charge of replacing the Guardians of the Globe that have been murdered. And I don't know, I get real shady vibes from him, especially the way the 4th episode ends. I don't know if that's just the way that he's been framed, or that scene was framed at the end of the episode, or if he actually is up to something. But I I don't know. It just seems that way to me, and I'm hoping you know the answer because I'm hoping it's answered this season.
Yeah, they're obviously hinting at something, and something definitely happens because of whatever he is going on. But you don't know. You don't know if it's what his intentions are, but it will soon be revealed in the last 4 episodes.
And I mean, I could be way off.
Yep. Yeah.
I could be sitting here thinking he's secretly evil. Meanwhile, he could be the greatest ally that they could have possibly imagined. So I have no idea, but there are things about the way his character is being portrayed that I'm kind of like, I don't know. You seem a little suspect to me.
It's rather interesting the direction that character goes in the last 4 episodes. I can't wait for you to watch it so I can hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and it's kind of funny that they cast Zachary Quinto. I mean, like you said, he plays Spock, who is historically, and even while Zachary Quinto played him, he's so rigid and kind of almost like robot-like.
Oh yeah, Spock's a human robot man.
Yeah, he's not human. He's Vulcan. Let's give them their respect.
The human robot people. That's
I
what
guess that's the way. Human
love.
robot people who have pointy ears like elves.
I can fucking put a touch on you, fuck your whole shit up.
Yeah, I thought that was really good because even there are times he talks and I see Spock as he talks because he's just got that monotone like questioning like this is how we're doing it because this is how it needs to be done as opposed to using any kind of emotion or thought process aside from he doesn't say it in the show but he might as well start quoting and saying that it's logical and things like that, just like Spock would. But I digress. That's just kind of my impression of what he's like in this show. But I mean,
No,
there are so many other actors that we could just keep going through, and I mean, even in the fourth episode, I watched just before we started recording. A guy comes on screen and starts talking, and I went, that's Jaimin Hansu, who I'm a big fan of, and Marvel fans will know from Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain Marvel, I'm sure. But I
Ni-
think,
and
what's that?
90s kids will know him as Amistad. Set us free. That's all I'll say.
Dude, I was way too young when that movie came out to watch that.
Dude, I'm I'm biracial, so Amistad was mandatory viewing. Yeah. Um that's what everyone knew him until I think it was probably Blood Diamond. And
See,
then he was the loud motherfucking Blood Diamond. And then it was Never Back Down for me.
that's what I know him from. The It's Never Back Down. That's the first. If I see or hear his voice, the very first thing I think about is him in that movie just telling him breathe as he's hitting the fucking heavy bag.
And it's a shame that he is older because if he was just a little bit younger, he would have been the perfect Black Panther. Tell me of a better Black Panther than him. He would have been perfect.
Chadwick Boseman, R.I.P.
Because
But no,
Dean
you're right. He would have been fantastic.
is literally from Africa. Like he was born and raised, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and he did voice the character in there was a motion comic of Black Panther. But
Okay.
anyway,
I'll have to
yeah.
check that out because now that you say that, you're right. He would have been fantastic as T'Challa. But oh no, now that I
Yeah.
think of it, I did see him in Gladiator before Never Back Down.
Yeah, he was.
Now that I think about that, but no, Never Back Down is the one that comes to mind because that's just one of those movies. And don't get me wrong, it is a bad movie, but it's one of those one. It's one of my guilty pleasures. Like I don't know why. I think it's just because I still like it, but I used to be really, really big into like UFC and all that stuff. And then that movie came out and it was right at the right time. And I became a real
Yeah.
big fan of it.
It's like the Fast and Furious, but like MMA kind of. To me, it
Yeah,
gives me the Fast and Furious
that's a good
vibe.
way to describe it. Aside from like
But
they're
like
not
yeah,
they're not
it's
robbing DVD players.
mhm. And it came out at the height or the very beginning of the popularity of MMA.
Yeah, when UFC was really blowing up, they made that movie. They couldn't have made it at a better or more or more opportunistic time.
Yeah, yeah, and Demon Hansu, he definitely left a mark as the coach in that movie. Because I don't really care or remember the damn star of that movie. I could
Okay,
care less.
is it bad that the way my brain works, I still remember the characters' names from that movie, and I haven't seen that movie in probably 10 years.
I don't really remember the goddamn. All I remember is that mole on his face.
Fucking Jaimin Hansu plays John Roca, and fucking the main character is Jake Tyler.
Okay,
don't
yeah,
ask me, don't ask me how I remember that shit. But thinking back to that movie, you've got an MCU alumnus in Evan Peters, and also an X-Men alumnus in Evan Peters, and you've got a DC alumnus in Amber Heard in that movie.
oh,
Again,
cool.
that's just the way my brain works when it comes to actors and movies and things like that. I can't turn it off somehow or sometimes. But
Okay.
sorry, we've kind of gone off on a tangent here, a little bit off track. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for these first 4 episodes. I mean, I don't really want to get into. I didn't really want to get into too much of the spoilers on this, but essentially, yeah, it's a fantastic show. I mean, again, I've only watched the 4, but it's already like I say, season 2 came out. It premiered, I believe it was Friday night with the first episode of season 2, and it's already been confirmed for a third season. I don't know. Obviously, that's going to be in the future because they're still putting out the second one now. And as far as I can tell, there's not a release date for it yet for when they're expecting the third season. But
Sure.
um,
On it with animation, it takes a while, so they're probably in pre-production right now. Took took 2 years between first and second. At the very least, it'll be another 2 years for the third.
I would think so. I mean, and the nice thing about with them doing animation is like they take those they take that 2 year, 3 year break that they have. So you don't have characters that are kind of growing up, and I think that's one of the things that they're struggling with Stranger Things over on Netflix. Is you started that show, which has been a massive hit with these kids that are like 10 years old, and in the show it's only like 2 years have passed, but in reality these kids have now grown from 10 to it's been I think like 8 or 9 years since that first episode
Yeah.
or first season came out. So these kids they've gone from like 10 years, 11 years old to full grown adults. And that now the rumor when the next season's coming out, they're going to have to do a time jump because they're like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that in the world 3 years have passed and all of a sudden these kids have grown 2.5 feet and they're completely different people. So they're going to have to do some kind of a time jump and
All of a sudden, Hollywood now cares about casting
continuity.
age appropriate people for the ages. Where was that in Greece, my dude?
Oh, when they were in their mid 30s, I think.
Motherfuckers was in their 30s with receding hairlines, and I know I seen some gray in one of them goddamn actors' hairs.
I think Stockard Channing I believe she was 33,
Good lord.
and she's playing a 17, 18-year-old.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
Hollywood, 30 years later, 40 years later, is finally smartening up and realizing Let's
Yeah,
make.
but that's that, and again, like I say, that's something that animation allows is you can let that time go by and they can the actors the characters still seem the exact same because they're drawn. They're not you're not seeing the aging on
No.
the faces of the physical actors, which is a good or which is a positive thing if you want to try and keep timeline continuity.
Hmm. And there was in between the first and second season, just before the second season came out, there was I think a 30-40 minute um special highlighting the character Adam Eve. I think you should watch that. I don't think anything is spoiled to the future episodes if you just watched it. It's just really showing her from her, when she was born up until I think just before uh the events of season 1, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken. So yeah, and that dude is incredible.
Well, my
But
plan.
it
So
really makes Adam Eve a person's favorite character. Like she is very even she's one of my favorite characters in season 1, and her solo special kind of solidifies like this character is just it's awesome.
yeah, no, I totally understand that. But yeah, it's just something that I think this show is really really well done. And
Yeah,
I'm like I said,
to
I'm very
me,
excited to continue watching it. I do plan on watching the next 4 episodes because I'll let our listeners know now. Our plan is moving forward is we're gonna do another episode next week covering the last 4 episodes of this well not of this show because there's more seasons but of this first season of Invincible, and then after that we're going to go into Gen V, the boys spin-off show. So if anybody hasn't seen the boys or things like that and they don't want things spoiled, um, you can watch that, or you know what, or just follow along with us. And if you don't have interest in watching the boys, maybe you'll have interest in trying this out and they might get you into watching that show. But so what our plan is we're going to watch the next. Well, you're going to probably rewatch. I'm going to watch the last 4 episodes of season 1 of Invincible, and we're going to come back next week and talk about those as well. And I'm extremely excited for what this show holds in its future, and I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know if you want to do a rating or if you want to give a quick little spiel on what you thought of this as of yet, or if you want to wait until we do the last 4 and do the whole season kind of review at once.
first 4 episodes, 10, I'd give it probably an 8.5 if I were to score it. Um, Not a lot of flaws stick out to me in these first 4 episodes. Writing solid. Love the characters. Voice acting's great. Animation is awesome. Uh, don't really have too many gripes other than douchebag characters.
You watch your mouth about Jason.
But other than that, other than like cliche characters just being there just because there has to be that type of character in this type of show,
Yeah, you can't get away
it's
from it.
it's pretty it's flawless in the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that and kind of piggyback on what you said there. I would give it an 8 myself, which kind of puts us right in line with what the people on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes were saying. I'm putting it. The reason I'm giving it an 8 is because I only see this show getting better as
Yeah,
the season progresses. So if I were to give it any higher, and then it gets better. It's like what do you do? Rate it an 11 out of 10 type thing. You can't do that. So I need to allow it room to grow.
Oh yeah, I said this in 2001. This and The Boys still rings true for
You
this
mean
year.
2021?
Yeah, 2021. Yeah,
Either that or you were seeing 20 years into the future, which
both the
which we
yeah,
need to talk about.
both The Boys or Gen V, that's spin-off of The Boys, and Invincible are the two best superhero things on television. It held true in 2001 or 2021, sorry, keep doing that. And it still holds true 2023 with Gen V and at least with the first episode of season 2 of Invincible, it's on track of being just as good, if not better, than the second season or the first season.
Well, that's encouraging because I mean, like I say, halfway through the first season, I'm extremely enjoying it, and I'm very looking forward to the rest of it. I will say one of the little nitpicks that I do have, and I get that this is what it's called. I don't like that his superhero name is Invincible, and I only say that because
Well, they make fun of it in the show,
they
which
do that. I like how I will say I like how they introduce the name of every episode of where it'll be somebody talking and it's like they go to say a sentence and the next word is clearly and they cut them off and they just show the title card where
you don't
it's
like.
like the title. No, I like that part. I like
Mm.
that. I like that. That's the way that they do it. But I I don't like the name Invincible. It's a nitpick thing, but it's like that's
It's not a typical superhero name,
no.
close, but it you learn to deal with it. It's not really a thing that's like whatever. You just roll with it at some point. You would think his name would be like I mean, I guess they didn't want him. I guess they didn't want the
Omni
world to.
Boy.
That's what I was thinking. Something along the lines of that, but I guess they just didn't want the world to know that they're related. So I guess that makes sense within that context.
But they also put forth that he came up with his own name.
Yeah, well, yeah, it sounds like a name a little kid who's like 5 came up with, and he just
Except
kept.
that he's 17.
But he kept it. He's like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep that name I came up with when I was
Yeah,
5.
because he knows his whole life that his dad has these powers and who his dad is. But I don't know. There's something about it that kind of rubs me the wrong way. And it's a small little nitpicky thing, but I don't know. I think there's a better name out there they could have come up with. I mean, but it is what it is. It's not to me. It's not. It's an adjective. It's not a proper name. It's not. I mean,
Well,
I'm
what
not like they're going to go with Superman or something like that. But they could have. They could. And I mean, of course,
watch more of the show, you start to realize the name. Okay, like there's
it makes sense.
yeah, it's not
I get why they did it. It's
like
just.
sense, but you start to see okay, it's not the worst name in the world. It's not the
Oh
worst.
no, I'm sure there could be worse ones. It's just I don't know. You're so used to at this point, like
Like
so many characters with like man or woman at the end, or like Wonder Woman or Batman or Superman or things like that, and then it's one word, which is fine if you want like the one word type thing, but Invincible describes something. It doesn't. It's not a person, but yeah,
yeah, Mark.
pardon. Could have just
Yeah,
been Mark,
yeah, it does describe.
Super Mark.
Nah, yeah, Invincible is you learn to like it more the more you're exposed to it.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah,
So yeah, so that's gonna do it for us for this episode. And like I said, come back next week when we do the last 4 episodes of of season 1 of Invincible. And as always, if you guys want to get a hold of us, we are on X at geeked_podcast with a capital G, or you can reach out and email us at geekedoutpod@gmail.com, and just let us know what you like, what you don't like, and if there's anything you might want to see or hear us talk about in the future. And as always, you can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, and Amazon Music. And I am planning on starting a YouTube channel to no videos or anything like that, but just to post these, just for if anybody would rather use that platform to follow us and listen to these podcasts. And rate and review us, and we appreciate all of you guys listening to us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much, guys.
Peace.